I can't see anything, so I'm looking at the camera or looking at Lynn, so.
Okay. I'll tell you if something's not in the screen.
Okay.
Okay, so we'd like to welcome you to Fabric Chicks live on Monday, August 4th. We have Virginia Robertson here, and Virginia has kind of been like the guru of the quilting doll making industry for the last, I don't know, maybe a few decades. So anything you need to know, you can learn from Virginia. She is a wealth of knowledge, and we're so lucky to have her today. I'm just going to turn it right over to Virginia. She is going to tell us, she's got some new patterns that she's designed and projects she's been working on. So I'm just going to turn it right over to Virginia. She's got a fantastic trunk show, all kinds of fun things. All right.
Okay. It's good to see everybody again, and I hope we have some new people this summer. I've been offline for 2 months. We've been doing a lot of doctors and hospitals and all kinds of summer stuff that didn't involve teaching or zooming. But I've been doing a lot of handwork because I spend a lot of time in the car and in waiting rooms. And so it's perfect for doing handwork and it's very therapeutic. And I'm going to tell you about a rabbit trail that I've done really since I would call it the 2023 rabbit trail. It all started in 2020 when Beth tried to talk me into doing Zooms during COVID because she quit going on the road. And she said, we ought to do Zooms and change our business. And I had never done it before. So we did the hollyhock quilt, which is what I have here on the wall. And this was the one that we did a 1 year Zoom, and it was kind of like a technique of the month club. And so I was in the middle of using all of my K facet fabrics and all my brights, and I was just doing hand applique, machine applique, doing it all. But I have been on like a 15-year journey using CAFE and batiks. And part of that is the batiks because I was working for Bali Fabrics and designing batiks. So I did about 10 years of a lot of batik samples. But also on the side, I love playing with the CAFE fabrics and all the color. Well, I had to make a second quilt because I had already done this quilt and it was kind of supposed to be a book, but it was a giant pattern instead of a book. And I had to make one during the year for the show and tell.
Uh-oh. Technical difficulties. I don't know. Virginia just vanished, just disappeared. So anyway, I also have the hollyhock quilt behind me. If you guys didn't join when we did the hollyhock class, it was once a month with Virginia. You can make whichever blocks you want to make. If you didn't join when Virginia did it, all of Virginia's classes that she does with us, you can purchase the recorded version of it. And with the recorded version, you can kind of go at your own pace. So we have the hollyhock. We lost her, Susan. Well, welcome everybody. They just logged on and then poof, logged off again. So I think that for those of you who don't know, Virginia lives in a very rural area. And so I think she might be having difficulties with her internet. But welcome everybody. Phyllis, I'm glad you're back home safely. I need you to come check out. I have a featherweight that we're going to be auctioning off on Wednesday. So I need you to come find out all of the information about it so that we are educated when we tell everybody about the featherweight. Hang on a second. I think she's coming on. It's circling. She'll be here in a minute.
I can hear you again. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. All right, I'm going to just turn it right over to you.
Okay, where was I?
You were telling us about the hollyhock.
Okay, I made this, I had the sample hollyhock quilt, the sample up from 2020, and I just pulled it off the wall, and to do the new one. This is the new one that we did during the Zoom, and I did it in totally different colors and much softer colors. And I really enjoyed working in the softer colors. I'm so used to been using the brights, like the cave brights when I do my work, and you can see the difference is very different. Uh, just just a lot busier fabrics, more pastels and whatever. And that was kind of the beginning, a little bit of the beginning of softening my color and changing my direction from cave and batiks to something airier and brighter. And my friend Sina gave me some leftover 30s, some Riley Blake fabrics, and I did one of my improv quilts where she gave me leftover blocks of a quilt she didn't use. She didn't use the blocks in her quilt. So I did a co-op project, and I took things out of this quilt and her blocks that she made, like the giant Dresden plate. I cut it in half, but I put my Virginia's vases in it, and she was doing a lot of these hand appliques, but it was forcing me to do softer colors and sort of like a 30s but brighter than 30s. And I kind of made this work with the black and white because that's the way I usually work when I do 30s fabrics. Because I've always done 30s fabrics because I always carried them in my stores. So I like, when I do 30s fabrics, I like to put black and white to pop the color a little bit because the pastels are just kind of wussy. Here's the little, this is one that I've shown before, the Scrappy Wedding Ring quilt. And again, it's just a lot of Judy Romenthal. This is like a 30-year-old quilt, but the black and white really makes it zippy. Well, that was really fun, and I had a friend that was introducing me to a lot of the Riley Blake fabrics, and our local quilt store started getting some of those fabrics in. So I decided to do another one of my improv quilts with some things last fall that I got at Beth's place. And these, I've worked in some vintage blocks. This was from Beth. These were in my collection, these little wedding rings. I mixed my reproduction fabrics with real vintage fabrics and did another kind of a conglomeration of improv things, but I just keep doing the same thing with quilt blocks and applique mixed together. My vocabulary is the vases and the patchwork. Well, I got started digging in my old 30s fabrics, and I went ahead and did, this is a traditional cave stack of cups that I did with the cave fabrics. And I decided I was going to try to do a new sample, so I took a lot of my, these are flower sock fabrics here, and the border is an old, something from my collection from fabric designing. And I loved working with the actual antique fabrics, but I didn't have very many of them. But I started really falling in love with the whole low impact quilts. Well, my friend Sina inherited this wonderful, it's like a 30s, 40s, and 50s fabrics. It's a vintage quilt, and I don't know what the name of the quilt is, but I'm calling it a hummingbird, and I love the border, the way that finishes. And I took the directions and the measurements off of this, and I decided to make one that I was going to do one, and a low impact quilt like this from the vintage quilt, and I just love the vintage quilt, but here's the one I did for the hummingbird quilt. And I wish you guys could see this or feel it in person, because I quilted it in a thick extra loft batting, and I put flannel on the back, and it is the cuddliest, softest, sweetest whisper quilt. I had to force myself not to put black and white in it, not to put bright color, but to keep it really soft, like a foggy morning or something like that. And I really enjoyed working on it. Well, I started buying more fabric. I mean, that's what happens. You're trying to use up your stash, but you didn't have enough in your stash, so I started buying more. And the stuff that's coming out right now is so cute. I did another challenge quilt with Elaine Brown, and I did this little Irish chain, and it has a lot of my cave scraps. So these are bright, but the white background makes it a lower impact quilt. So that was kind of a fun, scrappy way to work. A friend in Kansas had a vintage quilt. I wish I could borrow the quilt, but she's in Kansas. And I drafted another vintage quilt, and I'm gonna send you a picture of it on the Facebook, or on your Facebook page, your Fabric Chick Sew Along, and I'll send the picture of the old quilt in Kansas. And I drafted it. I didn't know the size, so I just drafted it, and I did a rolling 9-patch. And this is done by hand. Well, the 9 patches are done by machine, and the curve piecing, and I assembled it by hand. And these are like a little 5-inch circle. I put a lot of my 30s fabrics in here, but I also have vintage fabrics, like antique fabrics in it. And I don't know if you can see that up close. And I think I've posted this on the Fabric Chick Sew Along so you can see a picture of it. But it was so much fun to do, I decided to draft a bigger version of it. So, and this is, both of these, I want to do these as a new pattern if I get enough interest in it. So I drafted it big enough to do it on the sewing machine. So here it is as I believe this is a 12-inch block, and this went quite quickly. And I did the whole thing by machine. So, and I squared it off so that I could frame it and make it square. Anyway, this is limited color for me, but it still has the light and bright background and the clear color. And I really enjoyed it. I didn't want to quit doing it, so I did a matching table runner. I took the 4-hour table runner pattern, which is a very, very basic pattern. In the 4-hour table runner, this is just a pretty conversational print. And I put the rolling 9-patch in this, and this will be a housewarming gift for a friend of mine. So I kind of been enjoying this little rabbit trail of 30s light and bright. And I'm still kind of working on, this is what I'm finishing up quilting just this week. I've been on this for about a month and a half. This is a little brighter, but it's still light and bright and airy with the light background. And then you know what's happening with the latest line of some of the 30s reproductions, they're getting the creamy background. So I'm starting to hoard new white background prints because they're going out of style, and I'm just now getting into these light backgrounds. And I like to do it scrappy. I just buy third yards because I don't want to run out of fabric in the middle of something. Okay, so that's the one. Oh, I was going to tell you this. This was a pattern that I had. I think it's a Marty Michelle template, and I wanted to do something really hard, some really hard piecing. So I did that, and it was really fun. And then I added a bunch of 6-inch blocks of the same fabrics. And then I drafted this. I just did straight diamonds, and I took the actual curve of this and went around the corner. So this is going to be finished by the end of the week, and I'll have a binding on it, won't take too long. The quilt that I'm working on right now, let me take this down. It's on the design wall, and this is my design wall. It's in my dining room, but it's the only wall big enough. So this is the one I'm doing now, and it's really fun because it's 2 blocks. This is a block like this one, and then this block. This is like a half log cabin, 4 half log cabins put together, and then I love Irish chains. So now I'm using this up, and I'm down to 1/8 yard cuts on my 30s vintage fabrics, and really having fun using it up. And I'm going to go ahead and make this big enough to use like probably a queen size quilt. So you'll notice, speaking of rabbit trails, when I did the hollyhock house, I keep using so many of the things in that quilt that I had people that they were intimidated by the hollyhock house quilt, but they just wanted to do the vases because I'm always doing the improv vases. So I did do a separate pattern that Beth carries of just the vases, and you can have fun playing with vases or maybe making your own improv quilt. I'm working on developing a class for people, like a 1-year class where you do your own improv quilt, and I'll give you some vocabulary and then you bring some of your own things in. But that's something I want to work on for next year. The next thing I'm going to do is we're going to go into my studio, and I'm going to talk about the 6 Zooms that Beth and I have planned for the next, for this fall, for August, September, and October. So we're going to go in my studio. You might show them this, Lynn, while we're in the entry. Here's another one of my brighter ones. This is not 30s, but it's still light and bright and happy. But it isn't CAFE particularly. It's just a lot of different bright grits. Just getting into my stash with a lot of different collections. But the vases are the main theme on this also. So we're going to go in the studio. We're going in August, this next Monday, we're going to do the main doll. We're getting into, we did a lot of dolls last year. We did our little desert crone. We did the fat fairy. We did arthritis dolls. We did wall dolls, all kinds of basic dolls. And now we're going to get into advanced doll making for our little online doll club. And we're going to do the 16-inch lady doll out of the Needle Sculpting Cloth Doll book. And this is going to use some new things and some new techniques. Excuse me. That I think you're going to have fun with. Beth has a sample in the store, the Frida Kahlo doll, and it is the same body as what is in the needle sculpting book. But we're going to explore that doll. Excuse me. We have, it's windy here, and it's blowing the dust and the pollen, and it gets to you. And I use this basic doll pattern in the needle sculpting book. This has some new materials that we haven't used in our classes yet. And one of them is my dolls sit and they don't fall over. I have a bag of like steel shot or lead shot or sand in the doll's bottom, and that makes the doll sit up. I also am going to show you how to use some new supplies. Instead of putting stuffing in the hands, I'm going to demonstrate how to use the plastic stuffing beads. This is like plastic sand. They use it for sandblasting airplanes and things like that. And we're going to put those in the hands, and we're going to put glass beads in the feet to make the feet real heavy. And those are two of the new materials that we're going to use. We're going to do a more like a realistic face painting class in that class. Articulated hands and the bean bottom or lead shot bottom doll. So there's a lot of fun stuff, and I always carry the doll pencils and the doll making needle collection to do those dolls. The same basic body we're going to do in September. We're going to do the jester, and I'm going to do a silk jester for the next one, for the next sample. But he also sits up, but he's a whole different type of doll, and he will have a new face. It's a 3-dimensional face with a gusseted chin. So that's going to be an advanced doll. Um, we're going to do the crow on a pumpkin can, and it's basically a spin-off of the sewing bird, only it's a crow. And the pumpkin is the pin cushion on his head for your needles, and then you can put your scissors in the wing, and you can even use this as pin cushion. Um, so that'll be in September, crow on a pumpkin, and we're going to do two patterns for that one. I'm going to demonstrate, because they're very similar. I'm going to demonstrate the crow on a pumpkin for the class, but then this bird is done the same, it's just different drafting. So you're going to do both of these. I'm going to demonstrate both of these in that class. And then in October, we're going to do some quilts and some pot holders, and we're going to do the leaf pot holder and the pumpkin hot pad. We're going to do that in October. And the pumpkin also, we're going to do one that's a jack-o'-lantern. I didn't even have one of these samples, and I went to get the stuff out today to show you, and I had sold all my samples or loaned them all out. I made this in an hour this afternoon getting ready. So it's very quick to do, but these are fun fall projects. Also, they make great hostess gifts if you're going out. One of the other things we're going to do this fall is the fairies. And the one in class I'm going to demo is going to be the snow fairy, because I have a pattern for that. And I'm also going to demo the little gnome, Drew's gnome, and I have him sitting on a spool. This particular gnome is dressed up for Christmas as a Christmas elf, but we'll have another gnome just as as a little elm, and you could put him with a magnet on his bottom and put him on top of your sewing machine, like a sewing machine gnome. So we're going to do fairies, and I'm going to talk about other types and variations from an out-of-print book called the Fairy Book. And these are some more little types of little fairies. I'm just going to be briefly talking and touching on how you would do things like that. This is a little silk fairy. I dress a lot of my fairies in silk flower leaves. They make really cute fairy skirts. Here's a handkerchief fairy by Susanna Royan. Super simple little rag doll, but she's dressed in vintage lace and hankies. And this is another one all tied up. I traded these dolls with Susie O'Royan years ago. Here's like a fairy that just doesn't have any more time on her hands. She's all tied up with problems. Here's another one. This is by Susie O'Royan also. Super simple fairies or angels. They could be fairies or angels. Here's another one that's similar to some of the real simple ones. I'm talking stick figures. So we're going to do a real hard one and a real easy one each month. This is by, she lives there in Carson City. Anyway, she did Christine Shively. The head is an acorn, and she's a real simple little earth mother, fairy, whatever. These are some of my mother's dolls that she did. These are little angels. This is a tooth fairy. This is one of my old 40-year-old doll. It's a tooth fairy. You put the tooth in the basket, and then the money's on the pillow the next day. They can be Christmas or tooth fairy or whatever. I'm going to talk about dyeing your own fabric. And I don't know if Beth is going to carry it, but you can carry the unmercerized fabric, that basic white fabric that you can dye with real simple dyes and real simple process. So I'm going to touch on that with the advanced doll making. We're going to do a quilt class in October. Is it October? Yeah, October. We're going to do, this is the stack of pumpkins. There's the wall hanging, and here is the table runner. And there are patterns for that. There's the pattern for both of them are in one pattern. I'm also going to demo the Horn of Plenty because the techniques are very similar. It's raw edge applique, but I'm going to talk about color and design and a lot of my shortcuts that I when you're well, you just can make time while you've got all the fall fabrics out. I did another. This is the dancing coffee cups when they're on the shelf with the fall fabrics, and it was really fun because I don't use brown very often, but in the fall it kind of gets in. I just get into the oranges and the browns and the cheddars, and I just love doing these colors. So we're going to be doing a lot of fall stuff. The other thing I'm doing now, this is just more of a show and tell thing, and I think I showed you these because we made these last fall at a Tahoe retreat as the calico pumpkins. I was going to show you this little basket of pumpkins that I made. All these, I got 8 of them out of one of those 5-inch sampler packs, and it was just I only had 3 of that I didn't use, and the template will fit cata-cornered on a 5-inch square. So probably this fall on one of the doll classes, I may do a demo on this, on how to do that. But it really made a cute sample to take to County Road 9 little quilt shop here, and all $12 5-inch sampler pack. So I wonder if we have any questions or anything about the classes. I have the dates right here. All of my classes are going to be on Mondays. Beth, do they all start at 9 on your time?
Yes. They all
Okay.
start at 9 Pacific Standard Time. And if there's anything that Virginia showed today that you're interested in, just type it in the comments and we'll figure out how to get it to you and to get you signed up for the classes. And Virginia's doll classes are, she does a demo, so you don't actually sew during the class, but you can contact her at any time with any questions after the fact, and you do get the recording of the class.
And it's interactive. You can ask questions during class. I'll do a demo and then I'll stop and ask questions. So it's really good doing the live Zooms because you get to ask questions. But I'm always happy to do it on the side as well. But the advanced dolls are $25. They're more because they're going to take longer. They take a little more than an hour. And the rest of my craft class 15. And so, and I just do those as demos, but with lots of ideas inside.
And usually extra projects also.
Yes, I always there'll be bonuses. There's always bonuses. And a lot of times I send Beth free stuff that she can include in your orders and stuff like that too. We have a lot of fun with the thing. So we would like to have your feedback. I'm thinking about drafting those 2 vintage patterns, that rolling 9 patch, the hummingbird pattern. I really enjoyed doing those, and I might do some bright ones, just playing with it. But this winter, I would like to get back into the drafting table and start doing a couple of those 1-block patterns because they're very good therapy.
Perfect. Okay, so if you guys have any questions for Virginia, just type those in and we'll get those answered for you.
And I'll be reading tomorrow all the comments you made, see who's there that's familiar, because I'm starting to learn a lot of the names with Carolyn and the people that do all of these classes all the time. You guys have a really fun and ask good questions. So
they're just typing in right now to sign up for classes.
Great. Well, it's really fun to be back on teaching. It's going to keep me, I won't get as much handwork done because I'll be prepping. Most of these classes take a full 8 or 9 hours to prep for. So, but then, I like it to flow. I don't like to sew in front of people other than just the minimum. I like to have everything in steps. Like when I make a doll, I probably make 3 dolls. I start 3 dolls so I have things done all the way through. I've watched videos and I'd sit there and pretty soon I'm either going to sleep or losing my attention span watching somebody sew. So that's why I just do straight through demos. Get it done. There's
Susan.
the dogs barking at the chipmunks on the deck.
So the demos are all laid out step by step. Virginia has it all super clearly demonstrated. It's kind of incredible how she does her demos. But you do get the video recording, so even though it's only an hour class, it's really like a 4 or 5 hour class. She's just condensed it. And a lot of them are crafty projects, so if you're not per se into making dolls, if you do the fairy dolls and the gnome dolls, those are more crafty than doll making. And
all of those.
Yes. Virginia is not coming to our October retreat in Tahoe this year, but she is scheduled to come to Quilt Show Reno in June. So make sure that you stay tuned for that because she's got some great demos lined up, display, and some classes.
Right. Maybe a color class. I think maybe doing a color class and maybe doing a interactive face painting class where you actually paint the faces and I work with you like you're in an art class. So a lot of anatomy, and that is just a real must do for the doll makers. I used to teach it all the time. I mean, I've taught it all over the world, and it's all in the needle sculpting cloth doll faces. What I do is in that book, but there's nothing like you doing it and then I do it and then you do it and I watch you and give you critique, just like in college. It's kind of like college level. So, and my color class for Quilt Reno would be college level, like freshman college level art pertaining to fabric. So for quilting. So give us your suggestions and your critiques, and I hope that this video turned out okay. We had a lot of difficulties coming in. I think they've changed things since I was offline.
It changes all the time, and they're saying that I'm echoing now, but I'm afraid to change anything because I want them to be able to hear you.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to work on it, do some practicing. I got my nephew, he just got off work. I'm going to put him to work. We're going to have to practice doing some stuff on my Facebook page. So, but anyway, we'll see you guys in next week, next Monday, hopefully.
Next Monday for the 16-inch doll or Frida. So if you have any questions, you can always call us. The number scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And also VirginiaRobertsonDesigns.com is where you can find everything that Virginia does. And if you have any questions, you can always give us a call. We will see you guys. Hopefully tune in on Wednesday. We will be auctioning a Singer featherweight. So tune in Wednesday at 4 o'clock. All right. Have a great day. Go get some sewing done. Bye.
Okay. Bye.